In this lesson, we're going to learn how to use a light function. Alright, so let's say that we wanted to create a light that flickers. And if we take a look at our stationary lights, we have a property section called light function. Now a light function is created through the material editor. So to do this, let's go ahead and go to a materials folder in our game folder. And with it selected, we'll go to new and we'll create a new material. Let's go ahead and call this material light function and hit enter. And then we'll double click on that and we'll go into our material editor. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that stat so we can see exactly what's happening here. Now whenever we create a light function, we need to make sure that we change the material domain. Now the material domain is the top option here, so we'll change this from surface to light function. Notice with light function, the only thing that is available is the emissive color. So whenever we create a light function like this, normally we want to make sure that the output is black to white. And so whenever we add in things like our light color and intensity, it will all be matched to that color. Okay, so it'll always multiply from 0 to 1. So to get started with this, what we want to do is we want to create a flicker. To get started on this, we need to create a node that uses time. So we can do this a couple of different ways. We can type in time in our search, and you'll see that here. So we'll go ahead and we'll left click and drag that into the scene, and that's where we're going to start out. Now from here, what we'll do is we'll multiply time by a constant value. So to do this, we're going to hold down M to bring in a multiply node. We'll take time and we'll add that to A, and then we need to multiply that by a constant value. We'll hold down 1 on the keyboard to left click and we'll bring in a constant. We'll drag that in to B, and now it's multiplied by 0. Now anything that's multiplied by 0 is going to be 0, so we won't really get any results out of this. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll multiply this by 1, and then we're going to need this to go back and forth. We need it to go from 0 to 1 and then back. Okay, and the way that we want to think about this is kind of in a sine wave. Okay, now a sine wave is going to create this kind of pattern to where it goes up and then back down and back up. Okay, so we can use a node called sine. So we'll type that into our search. Now you'll find this inside of your math category if you don't want to type that in, but we'll drag sine in, and we're going to add that to our sine node. Now if you expand that sine, watch what happens here. Notice how the light or the color is going from black to white and then back. Okay, so it's going back and forth. Now we want something that's a little more sporadic than that. We want something that will go back and forth pretty quickly. We want a little bit of frequency with that. And so a great way to do that is to use the fraction math category, or math node. So we're going to type in frac. Okay, so let's go ahead and add that in, and we'll add this to frac. And now watch what happens. Notice here that it goes up and down, and it's going very, very quickly. Okay, so that's a pretty good start to our flicker. Now you could add more to this. You can add some more math nodes to make it slow down or speed up, whichever you want to do. Normally we can control it by this. So if we did something like 0.5, watch how that's changing the speed of that flicker. Now what I would normally do at this point is I would actually right click on this node and convert it to a parameter, so that way this can be accessed through something like an instance. So if you had multiple torches and you wanted to use a different light function on each one, you wanted their flicker to be a little bit different at a different speed, you could do that. So we'll say flicker speed. Okay, so that way that's going to be accessed there. Now right now it's set to a default value of 0.5. Let me go ahead and set the default value to 1. I was pretty comfortable with the way that was flickering there. So this could be used for something like a torch or a campfire. Now obviously we want to put this into our emissive color, and this is what we get our output on our material. Now we can use this and multiply this light function across the options we already have with our lights. So things like our color and even our intensity. So let's apply that, and we can go ahead and save that material. Okay, and we'll go into our scene, and with that light function selected, let's go to our light function section with this light activated, and we're just going to simply hit use selected asset. And so now you can take a look at your light and you get this function that's flickering here. Now at this point, what you would want to do is go ahead and build out your lighting. You could build that out, and what it's going to do is it's going to build out the overall color of that. Okay, and then you'll have your flicker on top of that. Now it's important to remember that you're using this light function, and you'll want that to be on a stationary light, okay, because static lights cannot be changed in any way during runtime. Okay, so with that, going ahead and baking all that information in. Obviously it didn't have to bake in that much. It didn't even require us to bake anything at that point. So now we're getting that information there. Now the really great thing about this, with what we've built, is I can come in and I can actually right-click on it and create a material instance. And so I'm just going to make sure that that stays material instance. But this time I'm going to double-click on the instance. You'll see that it shows something that looks like our material editor, but this is our instance editor. It doesn't appear to be updating or anything like that, but at this point, now it starts to go there as soon as I say it, obviously. So now what we can do is we can actually go to our scalar parameters. We can turn our flicker speed, and we say, all right, we want to override this. We want it to slow down a little bit. So instead of it being a campfire, let's do something like a torch, and we'll set that value to 0.5. Hit enter on that, and you'll just simply save that instance and go back to your scene. And now what I can do is I can select this one and say, all right, let's use this light function instead. Now again, this is a static, so if we scroll down, okay, you'll see the light function. Okay, now it's going to override that, and notice that it's not allowing us to do that. Okay, it's all grayed out. So we need to override that to the stationary. Okay, now remember, whenever you are using these, you want to watch out for your stationary overlap. So just be very careful of that. So with this set, we can go ahead and we can add that instance in this case. So we'll add that to our light here. For some reason, it's not wanting to, oh, I'm putting it under the light profiles, obviously, sorry. Let's go ahead and assign that. There we go. And there we go there. So there is our static light. Okay, this is just a fill light to create that cooler color. But now we have something that looks like a little bit of a flicker. It's a little bit lower. Okay, we could come in and we could probably smooth some of that out by adding in another expression. But you see exactly how light functions work and how they can be very helpful. And it's a little confusing. It might, you may not understand exactly how to create one because we have to go into the materials editor to create a light function. But now you know. You can have a lot of fun with that. Just remember that they have to be on stationary lights or movable lights. Okay, let's go ahead and make sure that we check that there. So if we select this one, let's switch this over to movable. Okay, so now that it doesn't need to be baked, and here you can see you have your light function availability. Okay, so only on stationary and movable lights. All right, so once you're finished, you'll want to go ahead and bake out all your lights, and then you're ready to go. So we've gone ahead and we've taken a look at all of the different aspects of lighting. It's pretty straightforward, but there are some things that we'll want to watch out for, some different ways that we're going to be using lights, and some different questions that we'll need to ask ourselves whenever we get into this lighting process. It's important to remember that lighting in games is more about the artistic than it is for realistic types of rendering. Okay, we want to create nice highlights, different colors. We want to create a mood in the player. And so I hope you guys had fun. I hope you learned a lot in this course, especially just getting started out with lights. Once you start getting into your own projects with like levels and things like that, this will become very, very helpful to you. You'll know what questions to ask and how to go about lighting your own levels. So I hope you guys had fun, and I'll see you guys next time.